Hello friends. Welcome to my channel. Book Agatha Christie, Curtain, Poirot's Last Case. Chapter 02. Nothing is so sad, in my opinion, as the devastation wrought by age. My poor friend. I have described him many times. Now to convey to you the difference. Crippled with arthritis, he propelled himself about in a wheelchair. His once plump frame had fallen in. He was a thin little man now. His face was lined and wrinkled. His mustache and hair, it is true, were still of a jet black color, but candidly, though I would not for the world have hurt his feelings by saying so to him, this was a mistake. There comes a moment when hair dye is only too painfully obvious. There had been a time when I had been surprised to learn that the blackness of Poirot's hair came out of a bottle. But now the theatricality was apparent and merely created the impression that he wore a wig and had adorned his upper lip to amuse the children. Only his eyes were the same as ever, shrewd and twinkling, and now, yes, undoubtedly, softened with emotion. Ah, mon ami Hastings, mon ami Hastings. I bent my head and, as was his custom, he embraced me warmly. Mon ami Hastings. He leaned back, surveying me with his head a little on one side. Yes, just the same, the straight back, the broad shoulders, the gray of the hair. Trace distingue. You know, my friend, you have worn well. Les femmes, they still take an interest in you? Yes? Really, Poirot, I protested. Must you? But I assure you, my friend, it is a test, it is the test. When the very young girls come and talk to you kindly, oh, so kindly, it is the end. The poor old man, they say, we must be nice to him. It must be so awful to be like that. But you, Hastings, vous êtes encore jeune. For you there are still possibilities. That is right, twist your mustache, hunch your shoulders. I see it is as I say, you would not look so self-conscious otherwise. I burst out laughing. You really are the limit, Poirot. And how are you yourself? Me, said Poirot with a grimace. I am a wreck. I am a ruin. I cannot walk. I am crippled and twisted. Mercifully I can still feed myself, but otherwise I have to be attended to like a baby. Put to bed, washed and dressed. Enfin, it is not amusing. That. Mercifully, though the outside decays, the core is still sound. Yes, indeed. The best heart in the world. The heart? Perhaps. I was not referring to the heart. The brain, mon cher, is what I mean by the core. My brain, it still functions magnificently. I could at least perceive clearly that no deterioration of the brain in the direction of modesty had taken place. And you like it here? I asked. Poirot shrugged his shoulders. It suffices. It is not, you comprehend, the Ritz. No, indeed. The room I was in when I first came here was both small and inadequately furnished. I moved to this one with no increase of price. Then, the cooking, it is English at its worst. Those Brussels sprouts so enormous, so hard, that the English like so much. The potatoes. Boiled and either hard or falling to pieces. The vegetables that taste of water. Water, and again water. The complete absence of the salt and pepper in any dish. He paused expressively. It sounds terrible, I said. I do not complain, said Poirot, and proceeded to do so. And there is also the modernization, so-called. The bathrooms, the taps everywhere, and what comes out of them? Lukewarm water, mon ami, at most hours of the day. And the towels? So thin, so meager. There is something to be said for the old days, I said thoughtfully. I remembered the clouds of steam which had gushed from the hot tap of the one bathroom Styles had originally possessed, one of those bathrooms in which an immense bath with mahogany sides had reposed proudly in the middle of the bathroom floor. Remembered, too, the immense bath towels, and the frequent shining brass cans of boiling hot water that stood in one's old-fashioned basin. But one must not complain, said Poirot again. I am content to suffer, for a good cause. A sudden thought struck me. I say, Poirot, you're not hard up, are you? I know the war hit investments very badly. Poirot reassured me quickly. No, my friend. I am in most comfortable circumstances. Indeed, I am rich. It is not the economy that brings me here. Then that's all right, I said. I went on. I think I can understand your feeling. As one gets on, one tends more and more to revert to the old days. One tries to recapture old emotions. I find it painful to be here, in a way, and yet it brings back to me 100 old thoughts and emotions that I'd quite forgotten I ever felt. I dare say you feel the same. Not in the least. I do not feel like that at all. They were good days, I said sadly. You may speak for yourself, Hastings. For me, my arrival at Styles St. Mary was a sad and painful time. I was a refugee, wounded, exiled from home and country, existing by charity in a foreign land. No, it was not gay. I did not know then that England would come to be my home and that I should find happiness here. I had forgotten that, I admitted. Precisely. You attribute always to others the sentiments that you yourself experience. Hastings was happy, everybody was happy. No, I protested, laughing. And in any case it is not true, continued Poirot. You look back, you say, the tears rising in your eyes, oh, the happy days. Then I was young. But indeed, my friend, you were not so happy as you think. You had recently been severely wounded, you were fretting at being no longer fit for active service, you had just been depressed beyond words by your sojourn in a dreary convalescent home, and, as far as I remember, you proceeded to complicate matters by falling in love with 2 women at the same time. I laughed and flushed. What a memory you have, Poirot. Ta, I remember now the melancholy sigh you heaved as you murmured fatuities about 2 lovely women. Do you remember what you said? You said, and neither of them is for you. Never mind. Console yourself, mon ami. We may hunt together again and then. I stopped. For Poirot and I had gone hunting again to France, and it was there that I had met the one woman. Gently my friend patted my arm. I know, Hastings, I know. The wound is still fresh. But do not dwell on it, do not look back. Instead look forward. I made a gesture of disgust. Look forward? What is there to look forward to? Eh bien, my friend, there is work to be done. Work? Where? Here. I stared at him. Just now, said Poirot, you asked me why I had come here. You may not have. Observe that I gave you no answer. I will give you the answer now. I am here to hunt down a murderer. I stared at him with even more astonishment. For a moment I thought he was rambling. You really mean that? But certainly I mean it. For what other reason did I urge you to join me? My limbs, they are no longer active, but my brain, as I told you, is unimpaired. My rule, remember, has been always the same: sit back and think. That I still can do. In fact, it is the only thing possible to me. For the more active side of the campaign, I shall have with me my invaluable Hastings. You really mean it? I gasped. Of course I mean it. You and I, Hastings, are going hunting once again. It took me some minutes to grasp that Poirot was really in earnest. Fantastic though his statement sounded, I had no reason to doubt his judgment. With a slight smile he said, "At last you are convinced. At first you imagined, did you not, that I had the softening of the brain?" No, I said hastily. Only this seems such an unlikely place. Ah, you think so? Of course I haven't seen all the people yet. Whom have you seen? Just the Luttrells, and a man called Norton, seems an inoffensive chap, and Boyd Carrington, I must say I took the greatest fancy to him. Poirot nodded. Well, Hastings, I will tell you this. When you have seen the rest of the household, my statement will seem to you just as impossible as it is now. Who else is there? The Franklins, Dr. and Mrs., the hospital nurse who attends to Mrs. Franklin. Your daughter Judith. Then there is a man called Allerton, something of a lady killer, and a Miss Cole, a woman of about 35. They are all, let me tell you, very nice people. And one of them is a murderer. And one of them is a murderer. But why, why should you think? I found it hard to frame my questions, they tumbled over each other. Calm yourself, Hastings. Let us begin from the beginning. Reach me, I pray you, that small box from the bureau. Bien. And now the key, so. Unlocking the dispatch case, he took from it a mass of typescript and newspaper clippings. You can study these at your leisure, Hastings. For the moment I should not bother with the newspaper cuttings. They are merely the press accounts of various tragedies, occasionally inaccurate, sometimes suggestive. To give you an idea of the cases, I suggest that you should read through the précis I have made. Deeply interested, I started reading. Case A, Etherington. Leonard Etherington. Unpleasant habits, took drugs and also drank. A peculiar and sadistic character. Wife young and attractive. Desperately unhappy with him. Etherington died, apparently of food poisoning. Doctor not satisfied. As a result of autopsy, death discovered to be due to arsenical poisoning. Supply of weed killer in the house, but ordered a long time previously. Mrs. Etherington arrested and charged with murder. She had recently been friends with a man in civil service. Returning to India. No suggestion of actual infidelity, but evidence of deep sympathy between them. Young man had since become engaged to be married to girl he met on voyage out. Some doubt as to whether letter telling Mrs. Etherington of this fact was received by her after or before her husband's death. She herself says before. Evidence against her mainly circumstantial, absence of another likely suspect and accident highly unlikely. Great sympathy felt with her at trial owing to husband's character and the bad treatment she had received from him. Judges summing up was in her favor, stressing that verdict must be beyond any reasonable doubt. Mrs. Etherington was acquitted. General opinion, however, was that she was guilty. Her life afterwards very difficult owing to friends, etc., cold shouldering her. She died as a result of taking an overdose of sleeping draught 2 years after the trial. Verdict of accidental death returned at inquest. Case B. Sharples. Elderly spinster. An invalid. Difficult, suffering much pain. She was looked after by her niece, Frida Clay. Miss Sharpies died as a result of an overdose of morphia. Frida Clay admitted an error, saying that her aunt's sufferings were so bad that she could not stand it and gave her more morphia to ease the pain. Opinion of police: that act was deliberate, not a mistake, but they considered evidence insufficient on which to prosecute. Case C. Riggs. Edward Riggs, agricultural laborer, suspected his wife of infidelity with their lodger, Ben Craig. Craig and Mrs. Riggs found shots proved to be from Riggs's gun. Riggs gave himself up to the police, said he supposed he must have done it, but couldn't remember. His mind went blank, he said. Riggs sentenced to death, sentence afterwards commuted to penal servitude for life. Case D. Bradley. Derek Bradley was carrying on an intrigue with a girl. His wife discovered this. She threatened to kill him. Bradley died of potassium cyanide administered in his beer. Mrs. Bradley arrested and tried for murder. Broke down under cross examination. Convicted and hanged. Case E. Litchfield. Elderly tyrant, Matthew Litchfield. For daughters at home, not allowed any pleasures or money to spend. One evening on returning home, he was attacked outside his side door and killed by a blow on the head. Later, after police investigation, his eldest daughter, Margaret, walked into the police station and gave herself up for her father's murder. She did it, she said, in order that her younger sisters might be able to have a life of their own before it was too late. Litchfield left a large fortune. Margaret Litchfield was adjudged insane and committed to Broadmoor, but died shortly afterwards. I read carefully, but with a growing bewilderment. Finally I put the paper down and looked inquiringly at Poirot. Well, mon ami? I remember the Bradley case, I said slowly. I read about it at the time. She was a very good-looking woman. Poirot nodded. But you must enlighten me. What is all this about? Tell me first what it amounts to in your eyes. I was rather puzzled. What you gave me was an account of 5 different murders. They all occurred in different places and amongst different classes of people. Moreover, there seems no superficial resemblance between them. That is to say, one was a case of jealousy. One was an unhappy wife seeking to get rid of her husband, another had money for a motive, another was, you might say, unselfish in aim since the murderer did not try to escape punishment, and the 5th was frankly brutal, probably committed under the influence of drink. I paused and said doubtfully, is there something in common between them all that I have missed? No, you have been very accurate in your summing up. The only point that you might have mentioned but did not, was the fact that in none of those cases did any real doubt exist. I don't think I understand. Mrs. Etherington, for instance, was acquitted. But everybody, nevertheless, was quite certain that she did it. Frida Clay was not openly accused, but no one thought of any alternative solution of the crime. Riggs stated that he did not remember killing his wife and her lover, but there was never any question of anybody else having done so. Margaret Litchfield confessed. In each case, you see, Hastings, there was one clear suspect and no other. I wrinkled my brow. Yes, that is true, but I don't see what particular inferences you draw from that. Ah, but you see, I am coming to a fact that you do not know as yet. Supposing Hastings, that in each of these cases that I have outlined, there was one alien note. Common to them all? What do you mean? Poirot said slowly. I intend, Hastings, to be very careful in what I say. Let me put it this way. There is a certain person, X. In none of these cases did X, apparently, have any motive in doing away with the victim. In one case, as far as I have been able to find out, X was actually 200 miles away when the crime was committed. Nevertheless, I will tell you this. X was on intimate terms with Etherington. X lived for a time in the same village as Riggs. X was acquainted with Mrs. Bradley. I have a snap of X and Frida Clay walking together in the street, and X was near the house when old Matthew Litchfield died. What do you say to that? I stared at him. I said slowly. Yes, it's a bit too much. Coincidence might account for 2 cases, or even 3. But 5 is a bit too thick. There must, unlikely as it seems, be some connection between these different murders. You assume, then, what I have assumed? That X is the murderer? Yes. In that case, Hastings, you will be willing to go with me one step further. Let me tell you this. X is in this house. Here. At Styles? At Styles. What is the logical inference to be drawn from that? I knew what was coming as I said. Go on, say it. Hercule Poirot said gravely. A murder will shortly be committed here.